Your day is not ruined. Your brain just thinks it is. And here's the disturbing reality: neuroscientists have discovered that it takes just 90 seconds for an emotional wave to pass through your nervous system. But most people stay stuck in negative emotional states for hours or even days because they don't know how to interrupt the cycle. You're not having a bad day. You're having a bad moment that you're choosing to extend. By the end of this video, I'll show you the exact 5-minute protocol that elite performers use to reset their state instantly, no matter how derailed they feel. But first, you need to see what staying in negative states is costing you. Let me show you what's happening right now. Something goes wrong. A rejection, a mistake, a setback, and your brain interprets it as a threat. Your amygdala fires. Cortisol floods your system. And suddenly, you're not thinking clearly. You're reacting. And in that reactive state, you make worse decisions. You snap at people. You avoid the work. You scroll to numb out. And what started as one bad moment becomes a bad hour, then a bad day, then a bad week. Not because the original problem was that big, but because you never hit reset. Here's what nobody tells you about emotional states. They're temporary by design. Your nervous system is built to return to baseline after stress. The problem is, most people don't let it. They ruminate. They replay the situation. They catastrophize what it means. And every time you rehash the negative event, you're re-triggering the stress response. You're keeping yourself in fight or flight mode, and your brain can't access higher-order thinking in that state. You're literally making yourself dumber by staying emotionally activated. Now here's the brutal part. Every minute you spend in a negative state is a minute you're not building, creating, or moving forward. And those minutes add up. You lose hours every week to emotional spirals that could have been interrupted in 5 minutes. You're not just wasting time. You're training your brain that negative states are normal. That when something goes wrong, you collapse. And the more you practice collapsing, the easier it becomes. Until you're someone who falls apart at the smallest inconvenience. Let me tell you what staying stuck in negative states costs you. First, productivity vanishes. You can't focus when you're emotionally dysregulated. Second, relationships suffer. You're irritable, defensive, withdrawn. Third, opportunities disappear because you're too stuck in your feelings to see them. Fourth, your identity shifts. You start to see yourself as someone who can't handle adversity, and that belief becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're not just having a bad day, you're becoming a person who has bad days. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. When you experience stress, your amygdala hijacks your prefrontal cortex. That's the emotional center overriding the rational center. And in that hijack state, you can't problem solve. You can't see perspective. You can't regulate yourself. You're running on autopilot, and the autopilot is set to survival, not success. But here's the key: the hijack is temporary if you intervene. Your prefrontal cortex can take back control in minutes, but only if you actively reset. Now here's the shift that changes everything. Elite performers don't avoid negative emotions. They just don't marinate in them. When something goes wrong, they feel it fully for a moment. Then they reset. They have a protocol, a circuit breaker, a way to interrupt the spiral before it consumes the day. And that protocol is not complicated. It's not time-consuming. It's 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes are the difference between a wasted day and a comeback. Here's the framework. A reset has 3 components: physiological interruption, cognitive reframe, intentional re-engagement. Physiological interruption means you change your body state to change your mental state. Cognitive reframe means you shift the story you're telling yourself about what happened. Intentional re-engagement means you immediately take action towards something productive. Most people skip all 3 and wonder why they stay stuck. But elite performers execute all 3 in sequence. And the sequence is everything. Let me show you what physiological interruption looks like. Your body and mind are connected. When you're stressed, your breathing is shallow, your muscles are tense, your posture is collapsed, and those physical states reinforce the mental state. So you do the opposite. You take 10 deep breaths, 4 seconds in, hold for 4, 6 seconds out. You're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. You're telling your body the threat is over. And your brain listens to your body faster than it listens to your thoughts. But here's the part most people miss. You can't think your way out of a bad state. You have to move your way out. Your brain is downstream from your body. So you change the body first. You stand up, you move, you do jumping jacks, you splash cold water on your face. You're creating a pattern interrupt. You're breaking the loop. And once the loop is broken, you have a window, a brief moment where you can choose what comes next. And that choice determines whether you spiral or reset. Here's the psychology. When you're stuck in a negative state, you're looping the same thoughts. This is terrible. I can't believe this happened. Everything is falling apart. And those thoughts generate the same emotions. And the emotions generate the same thoughts. It's a closed circuit. But when you interrupt the physiology, you disrupt the circuit. The thoughts lose their grip. And suddenly, you have access to other perspectives, other interpretations, other possibilities. Now here's the cognitive reframe. You don't deny what happened, but you change what it means. Instead of "this ruined my day," you think "this is one moment in my day." Instead of "I failed," you think "I got feedback." Instead of "everything is wrong," you think "this one thing went wrong." You're shrinking the problem from catastrophic to manageable. And manageable problems don't hijack your nervous system, they just require solutions. Here's the neuroscience. Your brain doesn't react to events, it reacts to your interpretation of events. Two people experience the same rejection. One spirals into worthlessness, the other shrugs and moves on. Same event, different interpretation, different outcome. And interpretation is a choice, not an automatic one, but a trainable one. And the more you practice reframing, the faster it becomes, until it's not something you have to force. It's just how you see things. But here's where most people fail. They reframe and then immediately go back to scrolling or distracting. They break the negative state but don't replace it with a positive one. So the negative state creeps back in, because your brain needs direction. If you don't give it something to focus on, it defaults back to rumination. So the third step is critical. Intentional re-engagement. You immediately do something productive. Doesn't have to be big, just intentional. Here's what intentional re-engagement looks like. You send one email, you make one call, you write one sentence, you complete one task. You're creating momentum. And momentum is the antidote to stagnation. Because once you start moving, your brain shifts from threat mode to challenge mode. You're no longer a victim of circumstances. You're an agent acting on circumstances. And that shift in identity is what keeps you from spiraling back. Now here's where it gets interesting. The 5-minute reset is not about pretending everything is fine. It's about refusing to let one bad moment define your entire day. You acknowledge what happened. You feel the emotion. But you don't let it become your identity. You reset and move forward. And the more you do this, the more resilient you become. Not because bad things stop happening, but because you stop letting them destroy you. Here's the protocol. Minute 1, move, stand up, stretch, do 10 jumping jacks, shake out your body. You're breaking the physical pattern of stress. Minute 2, breathe, 10 deep, intentional breaths. You're regulating your nervous system. Minute 3, reframe. Write down 3 alternative interpretations of what happened. You're expanding perspective. Minute 4, decide. What's the smallest next action you can take? You're shifting from reactive to proactive. Minute 5, act. Do that one thing immediately. You're building momentum. Here's what happens when you execute this protocol. The emotional intensity drops immediately, not to 0, but from a 9 to a 4. And a 4 is manageable. You can think at a 4. You can function at a 4. You can move forward at a 4. And as you move forward, the 4 becomes a 3, then a 2, then it's gone. Not because you suppressed it, but because you processed it and moved on. But here's the trap. Most people wait until they feel better before they take action. But that's backwards. Action is what makes you feel better. You don't feel motivated and then act. You act and then feel motivated. So you don't wait for the reset to feel complete. You start the reset by acting. And the action completes the reset. Here's what elite performers understand. They don't have better days than you, they just have better recoveries. They mess up, they get rejected, they face setbacks, but they don't stay down. They have a protocol, and the protocol runs automatically. Bad thing happens. Reset. Move forward. No drama, no spiral, just execution. And that's the difference. not the absence of adversity, but the speed of recovery. Now here's the secret method I promised you. It's called the anchor breath. You train your nervous system to associate a specific breathing pattern with a calm state. Every time you're feeling good, relaxed, focused, confident, you do the same breath pattern. 4 seconds in, hold 4, 6 seconds out, 3 times. You do this daily when you're calm, and over time, your brain associates that breath with that state. Then, when you're stressed, you do the breath, and your nervous system responds. Oh, this breath means calm, and it shifts. You've anchored calm to a trigger you control. Here's what happens when you install this anchor. You're in a meeting, something triggers you, you feel the stress rising, and instead of spiraling, you do 3 anchor breaths, and your nervous system downregulates. Not completely, but enough that you can think clearly, enough that you can respond instead of react. And that's the difference between a productive conversation and a regrettable one. But here's the part most people never learn. The reset is not just for big crises, it's for micro moments. You're working, you hit a frustration, you feel the urge to quit. Reset. 5 minutes. Back to work. You're in a conversation. Someone says something that irritates you. Reset. 1 minute. Deep breath. Back to presence. You're not waiting for catastrophe. You're interrupting negativity the moment it appears. And that's how you stay in control. Here's the identity shift you need. You're not someone who has good days and bad days. You're someone who has good moments and challenging moments. And when a challenging moment appears, you reset. You don't collapse. You don't spiral. You reset. And that ability, that skill, is what separates high performers from everyone else. Because everyone faces challenges. But high performers don't let challenges define their day. Let me tell you what you're losing by not doing this. Every time you let a bad moment ruin your day, you're reinforcing the pattern. You're teaching your brain that when things go wrong, we shut down. And the more you practice shutting down, the more automatic it becomes. Until you're someone who can't handle adversity. Someone who collapses at the first sign of difficulty. And that's not who you are. That's just who you've been practicing being. Here's the truth. You will have bad moments. Today, tomorrow, every day. That's guaranteed. But you don't have to have bad days, because a bad moment is just a moment. It's 90 seconds of emotion passing through your nervous system, but you turn it into a bad day by ruminating, by replaying, by catastrophizing, and all of that is optional. You can choose differently. You can reset. So here's what you're going to do. The next time something goes wrong, and you're going to pause. You're going to move your body for 1 minute. You're going to breathe deeply for 1 minute. You're going to reframe for 1 minute. You're going to decide your next action for 1 minute. And you're going to take that action for 1 minute, 5 minutes. And you'll be back in control. Not because the problem disappeared, but because you chose not to let it consume you. Because here's the final truth. Your day is a series of moments. Some good, some bad, most neutral. And the quality of your day is not determined by which moments you experience. It's determined by how long you stay in each one. Bad moment? Feel it. Reset. Move on. Good moment? Savor it. Build on it. Keep going. Neutral moment? Stay present. Stay intentional. Keep building. The reset is not about avoiding pain. It's about refusing to live in it. And that refusal is a skill. A trainable, repeatable, life-changing skill. So train it. Use it. Master it. Because 5 minutes is all it takes to go from derailed to on track, from reactive to proactive, from victim to victor. 5 minutes. And the rest of your day, what are you choosing?